from the letter that were written by chief managing director, chairman and managing director of the company to shareholders. And then we did text analysis of this report to identify the measurement of IO. We had this sample from 59 industries, and we then, for measuring the dependent variable, okay, resilience, we conducted event study using Fama-French 4-factor model, and we calculated abnormal returns for 3 windows. Now, this is where sensitive analysis for 3 windows. For day 0, that means the day on which demonetization was announced and stock fell 6%. Okay, on 5th day from the demonetization's announcement, and on 14th day. So we collected stock data on all these companies for this 0, 5, and 14 day. And then we specified our equation for RDI and abnormal return using IV2SLS counterpart. And then we provided impact of this innovation and R&D on day 0, 5, and 14 on stock returns. So if you look at the results, AR0 is an abnormal return on day 0, abnormal return on day 5, abnormal return on day 14. That means all of them are significant. So what we show that this is not a phenomenon of a single day. This relationship that we argue, that means resilience to macroeconomic shock, was sustained not only on day 1, but it was sustained throughout 0, 5, 14. So this is a sustainable resilience. So this is sensitivity analysis, right? So values are not sensitive to only 1 day's data. Similarly, see, we provide this AR0, 5, and 14. Similarly, okay, yeah, we provide a falsification test. Okay, what is falsification test? That we also wanted to prove that this resilience was on account of innovation focus. So when we removed innovation, there was no resilience from R&D. So we provide falsification. That means not only we show that IO influences resilience, innovation influences resilience. We said that if innovation is not there, resilience is not there. So proving counterfactual is also very important. This is also called sensitivity analysis. Now, placebo test. So what we did, we said that the innovation focus gave resilience to macroeconomic shock, right? We have to also prove that what if shock had not occurred, there was no shock. So if there is no shock, there is no resilience, right? That means the impact of innovation on resilience should not exist. So what we did, we collected data on abnormal return on event -1. That means the day before the event took place. That means nobody knew in the market that there is going to be demonetization. So it should not exist. That means the resilience impact should not be there. Innovations and R&D's impact should not exist. So we run a placebo test and again find that the result, the impact is not there as we expect. This is triangulation. We are trying to explore the same effect from all angles to prove that no, this is correct. Then what we do, we run a market model. We used, so there is one way in which you can derive abnormal returns, which is called Fama-French model. There is another way in which you can derive calculate abnormal returns, which is using market model. Now, market model has different variable to calculate abnormal returns. We use abnormal market model and then plugged into the dependent variable as for calculating cumulative abnormal returns. Even in that case, our results were significant, which means the findings are not dependent on one specification, one type of method. Then what we did, we changed the way R&D is measured. So R&D is measured as R&D expenditure to sales. We changed the way it is measured. We changed it with respect to industry. So within the industry, what is the total industry R&D expenditure, and to the total R&D expenditure, what is a particular firm's R&D? So ratio of firm to industry R&D expenditure, which is called relative R&D expenditure. So whether my results are significant when I change the definition of a construct, measurement of a construct, yes, it is also coming significant. Not only that, I again change the way innovation focus is measured. So instead of 1 year, I'm using 2 years letters to create score on innovation. Even in that case, it is coming significant. And then I use dose response function to see the persistence of resilience impact at various level of RDA. That means certain companies invest very small amount of R&D. Certain companies spend huge amount of R&D. So running separate results, separate regressions for those with high, those with low, in all the cases, the resilience persists. Now, this is robustness check. That means I am trying to argue that in how many different ways my relationship could be an artifact of method. I'm saying, what if my measure of R&D was different? Would a relationship exist? What if my measure of innovation orientation were different? What if I had analyzed this data using this different method? So I'm trying to ask as many what if, and trying to then prove that no, in all these cases, my results are solid, robust. And hence, my faith is slightly high that this is not an artifact of method. Okay. And then conclusion, managerial implication, literature, limitation. Look at the limitations. We are very, very harsh on ourselves, where we say that the president's letter to shareholders are unaudited, unregulated, and amenable to impression management. That means a chairman can write only good things, may not really reflect. So it is possible that it is wrong. Okay. We also need, so this all is basically that we, let me stop share here, that we try to address in this research through multiple specification. Anything else? Anyone having any other further question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Sir, you have not defined like where we should put the research research questions or the objective of our study. It should be comes under the method part only.
No, that comes in the introduction. That gets defined in introduction.
Introduction.
You don't really write a heading saying that this is my research question, this is my objective. It's okay in a master's thesis. It's okay in MRA project where you specifically define, but you don't have to, because it's obvious, right? What is introduction there? It's need for the study. Okay, and your country, what is it that you basically do in this study? So you don't have to write it under heading, but you definitely have to write it, that what is it that you seek to do. For example, in the decentralization example, I explained, right, that this is the agreement. However, we do not know the impact of decentralization on the poor in village, and I seeks to answer, okay, this is my research objective, that I want to investigate the impact of decentralization on the, or benefit of decentralization, whether it reaches rural poor or they get concentrated somewhere else. So you have to definitely put it, but in research paper, you will notice it may be required in thesis as well. Okay, it may be required in thesis, but in research paper, you will hardly ever find in good journals, in top journals, that they have a separate section or heading for research objectives and research questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have seen, sir, in literature review they are writing. In some of the paper, I have seen that in research method they have written. And
so
like
that
you
is,
said in introduction, yes, sir.
You definitely don't write in methods. Definitely don't write in method section at all. Okay, that's where you defend how you are testing this relation. That's the objective of method section.
Okay, okay, sir.
Anybody else? Any other question? I don't know how am I doing on time, how much time we have, or have we kind of run the course? There are a few things that definitely we can discuss more, but if I'm sure time, we have to be cognizant of time. So you please let me know, we can do as well.
Sir, I have one more question, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, if we want to replicate this study, like you said, we should not replicate. We should not replicate.
Unnecessary, without a reason. So a replication comes with a justification. That what is the need, and that need is not that it is done in Orissa, it's not done in Gujarat. What is unique in Gujarat that requires to be embedded in the theoretical framework and hence demands a replication?
Yes, sir. Sir, if we want to add any variable or anything, like then we can go for that particular.
Then it is
research.
it's not a replication. When you add an additional construct, you are increasing the explanatory power of your theory, or you are changing the arguments of your theory. And you have to do it not by peremptory inclusion of a variable into it. Okay, no, let me add something. But you have to focus theoretically on justification that why new construct should be integrated in the existing theory. That is, I think, the most important aspect.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
And then you can go, then it's no longer a replication, right? It's a new research afterwards. If at all replication you want to do, you have to ensure that you replicate, but you use new method. Okay, which means that all the existing studies are done using, let's say, self-reported data, perceptual data of respondent, which means the findings are not robust. So you want to put a greater and stricter test, and you want to test this theory using, let's say, this brain mapping. So you are replicating the same study. Your hypotheses are same, which are already tested. Yes. But your method of data collection and testing of hypothesis is new and more robust. So you're using now neuro marketing data, brain imaging and brain mapping data to test the hypothesis, which is a contribution, new contribution. It enhances the faith of the community, scientific community, in the theory's veracity.
Sir, how to like present our paper in the, like, when we are submitting to a journal, then what will be the main idea behind, like we have lot of journals regarding our domain. So how to start searching for that?
How to identify a journal?
Yes, sir. How to identify journal which is suitable for our study, like for our research.
Okay, so that's a good question. How to identify a journal? One thing, I think the most important thing in identifying journal is that to know, first of all, that what is the contribution, what is your own contribution, whether it is significant, whether it deserves to be at certain level where you think that the paper should go. Most of us think that this paper belongs to this kind of a higher level, and then it gets rejected. So knowing, and how do you know? You know it by self-critical evaluation and by help of your other colleagues, asking, getting review from them. That's one. After that, you need to really see the fit between the focus of your research paper and focus of the journal. If a journal belongs to consumer behavior area, and particularly within the consumer behavior area to particular type of committed research in consumer behavior, you have to focus that this is where it belongs. So reading the objective or goal of journal and seeing whether it fits your requirement or not is very important, because otherwise you again lose time. You submit it and they say that this is not relevant to our you can opinion of editors or members of the editorial review boards of a journal interest to this journal, and you can get this kind of informal opinions of the people who matter. You can look at the quality ranking as well of various journals, and see the paper which are published in those journals, and see that whether your paper belongs to that quality of a paper or not. Something that you can do. And finally, I think one more important thing is that you must know that when you are working on a research paper, you will always have a few 3, 4, 5 central research papers that are focal to your own research, or your research paper revolves around this 4, 5 paper, and you enhance their contribution. So you must know that what are these 4, 5 papers and where are they published. So their source becomes naturally your target journal, and they also become naturally your potential reviewer. And you can also probably ask their help and their review and feedback. Okay. So one of my paper, when I worked on it, it kind of argued against the work of one of the well-known Professor Grinley in Australian University. So Professor Grinley does a lot of work on internal market orientation and prepared certain and written some 3, 5 papers on that. My paper kind of contradicted his argument, and first thing I had to do was to send my paper to him for comments, feedback, that what do you think of this? Why you think that my paper could be wrong, because it argues against him, right? So his feedback becomes useful for me. If he clears, I know that there is some substance in it. So this way also, and then the paper or the journal which published his paper that I try contradict becomes my natural selection for this particular paper. Okay, so that's how you should focus.
Well,
Thank you,
yeah.
sir. Thank you so much, sir.
So thank you so much. It is an immensely insightful session, honestly. I mean, we've attended such sessions earlier, but this is particularly one very honest session where you very simply and coherently explained everything, right from how to craft to the publication part.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, if there's any more content to be covered, we can cover in a couple of minutes, or else you can just let us know.
No, I think, yes, as we all know that this is not something that we can complete in a short amount of time. There will always be something more for us to know, but I would just kind of leave one important point here in this 1 or 2 minutes, that how do you handle reviewers' rejections? What should you do when you get rejection? And rejection is a fact of life. It's a fact of being a researcher. No researcher, howsoever great that you may have known him or her to be, has never faced rejection. So all great men and women in research have been rejected and continues to get rejected. Okay, so rejection is a fact of life. It should not come to affect your confidence, your self-esteem. Just use it as an opportunity to improve and revise the manuscript. What I worry is that most of us lose faith or lose our drive to do research because we see rejections, and those rejections are written in a particularly by new or less mature reviewers in a very, very condescending and demeaning way. So it affects our motivation. So I would suggest that don't take those rejections personally. Don't allow it to affect your self-esteem. Everyone gets rejected until you find the right place. You definitely will get accepted if you stay put and revise it. Okay, it's always a learning process. So what I do is that whenever I receive rejections, and those rejections many times are 5-6 pages long. And I know that at most of the places, reviewer has not understood my point, has not been able to see what I am trying to do, or it's going completely in wrong direction, suggestion in wrong directions. In which case, what I do, I am very, very angry. I am frustrated. And I write a very, very strong rebuttal email, point by point, exposing that how stupid the reviewer is, how dumb, duffer that fellow who's asking me to do a poor job. I used stricter robustness check, and the person asking me to do a poor analysis when I am exceeding that means person just doesn't know anything. And I never send that email. Okay, I just keep it saved for myself. I let the entire frustration out and never put pause send button, and then let it rot there for at least a week. And then I come back and then I open up the review when my frustration is gone, my anger is gone, my pessimism is out, and I'm ready to revise and bounce back. I start looking at each one of the point and then try to incorporate in my paper if possible, or prepare the response to reviewer comment that very politely how reviewer has missed this point or how I have incorporated this point by point, which goes into something like sometimes 20-30 pages. So many times my response to reviewer is as long as the paper itself, so 8 to 10,000 words of response to reviewers, point by point, providing explanation, doing separate analysis, not incorporating in the paper, but because a point or objection was made, to counter that, we provide that in the response to reviewer. Or that we also cite new evidences, not in the paper, but in the response to reviewer, according to which this point is not required to be incorporated or addressed in the paper. But most of the time, my focus is on trying to address the concerns, trying to incorporate their suggestions, which are often useful. So I would remind you, whenever you get rejection, the best way is to call a fictitious number and start abusing that person, reviewer, and allow your frustration to go out, and then come back with sanity prevailing, with frustration, anger gone, to start addressing the paper. So don't give it up on paper. Most of the paper don't get published after 1 or 2 rejections. Yeah.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Madam, permit me, I have a small question and take hardly 1 minute or 2 minutes.
Yes, sir. I think we can have the last question. Yes.
Okay. Yes, sir, though this is the first year, that means it's the initial stage of research. So what is the good time to publish our research? Is it that means we should spend more time than publish, or can publish it?
So whenever you think that this is ready, and being ready, research being ready means it's ready for publication as it is, according to you. So you have written an entire draft, you have revised it 10-15 times, you have sought reviews of your friends, of other academics, and they say, you know, it is good, now it can go for publication. Only then you go and submit it. And which means you have to have a pipeline. It's not one research complete and then you start on the research. So you know that one research is getting revised. Okay, you are addressing reviewers' comment. The other research is submitted and undergoing review. The third research you are revising third, fourth time. The fifth, simultaneously for another research, data collection is ongoing. And for another research, you are thinking and conceptualizing that what to do. So once you have this kind of pipeline created, you continuously keep on getting something out 1 year that gives you cake, happiness, joy that I published something, while you're working on different 3-4 other projects that are at different stage in the pipeline.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Dr. Kedar Bhatt to offer a vote of thanks?
Thank you very much, madam. As we all have experienced, sir has not just talked about the structure or the technicalities of empirical research paper, but sir has actually or indirectly talked about the mindset that we should have when we talk about research and publishing. As a researcher, what mindset, what characteristics are needed. So thank you very much, sir, for that. Of course, he has talked about entire anatomy of a research paper. What are the important sections? How to approach each section. Sir has also inform us about the reviewer's mindset, what reviewers expect, and how you should handle those expectations. So thank you very much, sir. I am very much sure that we have fulfilled the promises that we made to our participants when we, sent the brochure and talked about the pre-conference workshop. I'm sure the learnings are going to help them in their future research endeavors. So I take this opportunity to formally thank sir on behalf of the conference team as well as entire institute. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for inviting me, for giving me this opportunity to share my ideas about publishing and writing research. I enjoyed interacting with the participants, and I wish all of them very productive and very joyful research journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Professor
Thank you.
Modia.
Yes.
Yes, Nazim ma'am, please.
Yes. Okay. So I would like to take this opportunity to close this pre-conference workshop, which is drafting quality research papers and publishing them in journals. So hopefully we we have learned a lot, enlightened, sir has enlightened us with absolutely meaningful learning towards how to write a research paper and journals and how to integrate it. So definitely we're going to integrate it in our future research papers and consultancy projects. Our national, our annual international conference, Changing Paradigms in Management 2022, that is, this one is pre-workshop. I'll just take a couple of minutes to give you an overview of tomorrow's day. So tomorrow, D-Day will start at 9 a.m. Entry of participants followed by introduction, and keynote speaker will be starting from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. That is 1 hour. And the presentation will go on from 11 a.m. to 3:30. 3:30 p.m. will be having a valedictory session. So this was a quick overview of what we'll be going to do tomorrow. Thank you all once again, distinguished guests and participants. I would like to thank all on the behalf of Chimanbai Patel Institute of Management and Research Conference team. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. No, participants can leave.